My name is Elizabeth Sensing, and my grandma suffered from Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Her name was Betty Sensing, but I called her Granny. She was the type of Southern girl who grew up on a farm with many brothers and sisters in Tennessee. She was a nurturing sort, very independent and very stubborn. She liked to do things on her own. She was in love with her husband, my papa. Their type of love was the love that was strong, ageless, and endless. They were married for over 50 years. In that time they had 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Granny would forget simple things like what kind of peanut butter I liked on my sandwich, or she would call me my sister's names, but that was never a big deal to me. Granny would never remember any of this. Not long after, Granny was diagnosed with dementia. It was very confusing for me. I did not understand why she was losing her mind. My dad and his sisters decided for her own good she should be moved to a nursing home where she could be better cared for. The last time I saw her house was when we were going through it, taking all the last of her things out. I took some of her angels with me. I cried at what it meant. We were never coming back to Granny's house. Granny didn't even seem to know she was at a nursing home. We would go and visit. She would ask my dad when he was taking her home, and she would say things like, "I've been working all day and my shift is done. Can you give me a ride back?" I would look at my mom strange because I didn't understand. I didn't know that Granny was working at the nursing home. And my mom said that Granny was just confused and she really wasn't working at the nursing home. Granny started progressively getting worse. She started to try to run away from the nursing home. My dad and his sisters moved her to a new one that could give her more care. My Granny would talk about wanting to go back to Tennessee. She also would forget that Papa died, and she would ask my dad why he left her. She was heartbroken, and so were we. Eventually, my sisters stopped wanting to visit. My dad and I would just go visit her on Sundays together. I didn't want to go either, but I knew it made her happy. She would tell me that I looked beautiful and that she was glad to see me. When we would leave, she would try to follow us out. It hurt really bad to watch her stare at us as we left. And my dad admitted that sometimes he laid awake at night imagining her in the nursing home, confused at where she was. He was guilty because we didn't have her to stay with us. I understood this, but we both knew that the nursing home could give Granny more care than we could. Eventually, the nursing home had to move her into more special care. There was an area in the back of the nursing home at the end of a really long hallway with the white door. I hated going down that long hallway every time to visit Granny. We would have to knock to be let in, but still I would in early 2006, when I was 11, her sentences wouldn't make sense anymore, and I could usually catch only 1 or 2 words. My dad told me that she probably knew what she wanted to say, but she would just start forgetting in the middle of a sentence and then get confused and just try to keep talking. Life was still going on for me. I had just finished up middle school and I was starting high school. I was in the drama club. My dad tried to tell Granny all of my accomplishments. I wanted her to be proud of me, but she would never remember. She developed Alzheimer's disease, but she was literally trapped. I remember the last time I went to visit her at the nursing home. My dad and I went together. She seemed worse that day. When I hugged her, she was stiff. She didn't hug me back. I talked to her and she would just say things like, "That's nice," very polite. She would get up and walk away. My dad and I exchanged glances and I followed her. I said, "Granny?" And she turned around and said, "The whole time I didn't know that was you." We both cried. After that, I didn't visit anymore. In late 2009, Granny was on ultimate low. She started hitting people. The dementia was making her aggressive, and she started seeing other residents at the nursing home as threats. She would be hospitalized sometimes. My dad and his sisters didn't know what to do with her. Granny started not being able to eat, drink, or respond. I heard my dad on the phone telling someone that they had hired hospice care for her. This came as a total surprise to me. I was eating, and the food in my mouth tasted like cardboard. And I cried. My dad got off the phone and came in my room to officially warn me that Granny didn't have much time. It was something that's not easy to explain, but it came as sort of relief to know that the suffering for her was going to be over. My dad spent a couple straight weeks with Granny until in December of 2009, I woke up to hear my mom answering a phone call from my dad, and Granny was dead. I think my family and I can agree that we wouldn't wish dementia or Alzheimer's on even our worst enemies. For almost 4 years, Granny was trapped in a failing mind, but a fit body. I am afraid that I will get old and I will have dementia. To me, that seemed like the only cure for Alzheimer's disease and dementia, but it shouldn't have to be this way. Let's put our brains together and find a cure for brain disease.